Hey, thanks for joining me again today. Glad to be here with you, just sharing a quick devotional thought to encourage you in your walk with the Lord today. There are people that work the fields, and as they move through their property, maybe newly acquired or even otherwise, they have to pull out this big plow. And this plow helps them to till the field and to pull up all the rocks and get rid of all the stuff and get it ready for the crop. And as they take that plow through the first time around, it gets the big rocks and it pulls those up, and they got to get in there and take those rocks and get rid of them and stack them up and just remove them from that field so that it doesn't interrupt the root system of the crops going in. Then they go through it again, and they pull up maybe the medium-sized rocks, and then they go through it again, and then they get the small rocks. And this process is so necessary because any rocks really will often create a problem for the crops going in. It's a very similar situation with growing in grace. When we first come to the Lord and He pours Himself and His Spirit into our lives, He reveals the big sins, the things that they've got to go right away, because if these things aren't removed, it's a significant barrier to any kind of further growth. But He doesn't stop there. He continues to work. And then those medium sins, maybe ones we didn't think were so bad or think they were really that sinful, those come to the surface, and we work to get rid of those. And then God's grace, God comes and says, I've got more to do, and the little rocks start to come to the surface. And by His grace, He removes those, the little sins, the things that we don't think are important at all, the trivial stuff. But as we get closer to Jesus, He makes them very known to us. We see them for what they are, and that they are barriers just as well. And so that's the growing process. It's uncomfortable. It's discouraging at times because we feel like, man, am I even growing? Boy, that sin popped up again. How did that happen? Well, it's just part of being human, of being sinful human beings who are in need of God's grace. And our grasp of God's grace, our call for God's grace isn't perfect. We don't always keep that constant watch as we should to make sure that the enemy who's trying to tempt and draw us away, that we stay away from him. We're not great at that all the time, but God helps us in our walk. We become better, we do better, and we grow in His grace. Praise the Lord that there is growth, that we're not the baby Christians we once were. I like this passage from Psalm chapter 25. And here's what the psalmist says in verses 8 and 9. The Lord is good and decent. That is why He teaches sinners the way he should live, or they should live. He leads humble people to do what is right, and He teaches them His way. Beautiful, beautiful picture of God and using His grace to teach us the way of the Lord, to teach us what is right. And then notice this, verse 11. For the sake of your name, O Lord, remove my guilt because it is great. It's not just for our sake that it removes the sins of our life and gives us the grace that we need to stand, to walk with Him. He does it for His sake. And we want Him to do it for His sake because we don't want to live a life contrary to His character. We want to be loving people like Jesus is loving. We want to be kind like our Father in heaven has been kind to us. These are the things that He wants to instill in us. But He does that so that not only He will save us, but so that we might witness and testify to others that God is a God not just of ones to pull us out of the fire at the last minute and get us out of here. He wants to change us from the moment He gets a hold of us to make us more like Him. So let Him do that. Let Him go through that process of changing your life. And when He reveals something in your life that needs to go, let Him do it. Let Him root it out. Cling to Him. He'll give you the grace, He'll give you the power to stand. And so let Him go through that process, because we know that when we see Him, it says in 1 John chapter 2, that we will be like Him. We'll see Him for who He is, and that changing process will have been complete. God bless you as He completes that process in you today.